If you run the application right now, you would see that we are able to log in, log out in 28 minutes dummy and log in, and I'm able to get the welcome message. This is because we have hard coded the basic authentication in it. It's not really depending on the interceptor yet because this is hard coded, it's still working. If you go to to-dos, the to-dos does not work because we have disabled the HTTP interceptor. In this step, let's try and get everything into a working state. And let's also connect the welcome message, the get welcome message to the interceptor. We'll remove the hard-coded code that we wrote in there. Let's start with the welcome service, welcome data service. Right now, what we have in here is this hard coding, right? This is specifically because we started with the welcome data service at the start and we hard coded the basic header in there before we created the HTTP interceptor. Now, let's comment this out. And I don't really need to pass in the headers in here. So I'll press enter here and I'll comment this out. Now this method is not used anymore. So control / again to comment it out. Cool. So the welcome data service, in the name of getting things working, what we are doing is we are breaking things. So this is not really working right now. There's an error in the background. I'll leave it as an exercise for you to figure out how to handle that kind of errors and show a message on the screen. This can also be implemented as a common solution across the application. For now, let's switch our attention to to-dos and welcome. These are not really working. The messages are not really working, right? So let's get that working. Let's go to the HTTP interceptor, which is commented out. What is happening in here is it's taking the hard-coded stuff. And we don't really want it to take the hard-coded stuff. We want it to use the things which we have already provided. So we already stored a set of things into our session storage and we have methods to access them as well. So let's use that. So I'll say basic authentication service, private basic authentication service in colon. Let's import this in, control space, import it in. And now I can use basic authentication service to get all this stuff. So I don't really need the username and password now because I can get the basic authentication service. Let's comment this out. I can use the basic authentication service to do this, right? So let's comment this and basic authentication service, this dot basic authentication service dot get authenticated token. So I'll say let basic header string is equal to this. To be safe, I'll also get the username. So to let username is equal to this dot basic authentication service dot get authenticated user. And what I'll do is only if both of these are present. So actually it should be the method call. That's very important. If you don't have a method call, it actually returns the method reference. So make sure that you are using the method call for both get authenticated token and get authenticated user. And now over here, I'll execute this only if both these have a valid value. So if basic authenticated string and username, if both of these are having a proper value, then add the authorization header. Otherwise, do not do anything and let the next HTTP handler execute the request. Does that sound cool? It's basically, we are checking if there is something related to the authentication string stored into our session. If user logs in, there will be a value in the session, and that's what the basic authentication service is maintaining. And let's see what would happen now. Let's go to to-dos. Let's go to home. Get welcome message. Still broken. To-dos, still broken. Why? Why is it still broken? Think about it. Why is it still broken? The reason why it's still broken is we have not really removed the commented code out here. The HTTP interceptors are not still active. They are not in the providers list. Let's go ahead and now you can see that everything is working fine. Get welcome message. You can see that when you do an update and save, everything is fine. Actually, we did not really make a change, but even if you make a change, you'd see that everything gets stored properly. You'd see the 4 in here, delete, and you can also try adding and logging out. Isn't this cool? Right now, we have removed the hard coding of in 28 minutes in certain places. There might be a certain other places where in 28 minutes is hard coded. I'll leave it as an exercise for you to identify those places and replace it with a call to the specific authentication service. So you can inject this in and replace the hard coding with a call to get authenticated user. I'll see you in the next step. Until then, bye.